thank you. Our next item is site plan number 2203, Steiner Road Industrial Park. Requested determination as to whether a permitted use.
Pursuant to the staff's review of the preliminary site plan for the site, the applicant has requested the Planning and Zoning Commission review the type and nature of the proposed uses at the site in terms of Section 115-110, permitted uses and potentially hazardous uses, as described in Section 115-110C. The preliminary plan proposes for industrial uses to include the following as described in the plan: a concrete central mixing and proportioning plant, and a building materials and building materials recycling and sorting facility. Prior to any determination by the director under Section 115-111, the applicant has requested for commission to consider if the proposed uses may be categorized under similar, quote-unquote, similar industrial uses as listed in 115-110C. The parcels are located on the east side of Steiner Road, Sussex County Road 320, approximately 1,060 feet south of Lewis Georgetown Highway, Route 9. The zoning district is HI1, Heavy Industrial District, and the tax parcels are District 135, map 16.00, parcels 23.05 and 23.06.
Mr. Chairman, to assist with this, the staff thought it would be helpful to have the applicant's exhibits up on the screen, and should there be any questions, we also have a copy of the zoning code, actually, specifically in relation to the HI1 heavy industrial district, in case the Commission wishes to go through those permitted uses. This is something that's slightly different to a site plan, Mr. Chairman, in that this is a rather technical question before the Commission as to whether the use described by the applicant in their submittal is similar to those permitted uses in the HI1 heavy industrial zoning district. I would just draw to the Commission's attention that any use permitted in LI1 and hence any use permitted in LI2 is also permitted in the heavy industrial zoning district. So that would be the starting point of the Commission's discussion as to whether the use being described by the applicant in this particular case is similar to any of those permitted uses. And the specific section that the staff have been talking to the applicant about is if a use is not specifically listed as being permitted, there are a list of uses in the heavy industrial zoning district where the Commission can make a determination that it is similar to a listed permitted use and is therefore permitted. Now, the reason for this, and there's some significant background to this, Mr. Chairman, is that the staff have been discussing with the applicant as to whether the use being described is potentially within the potentially hazardous uses section of the heavy industrial zoning districts. But prior to making a determination on that, the applicant has specifically requested that this use be brought to the Commission because the applicant believes that the use is similar to those that are permitted in the heavy industrial zoning district, if that makes sense.
And the relief would be if you all determine that it's not similar to the uses that are listed, then they have to go to the Board of Adjustment for a hearing on that for a determination.
What we have on the screen, Mr. Chairman, to assist is the applicant has done an excellent job of describing the use and the innate characteristics of the use. In particular, they've gone to some detail in terms of the materials that are proposed to be received on this site, and although they're not receiving any hazardous material, the materials to be accepted as part of this use: wood, concrete, cardboard, metals, drywall, green waste, plastics, brick, block and asphalt and dirt. And then the applicant does an excellent job of describing how those materials are to be received at the site and how they're processed and the machinery involved. And then, the various processes that are operated, and then what the end result is at the end of that process, and how those individual materials are separated and extracted. So it's
dirty and loud.
But it's also HI, the zoning.
Yeah, right. So
It sort of allows dirty and
which exactly, yeah.
Because it talks about
I think we're okay.
I think we're all right. Yeah.
Wasn't one of the zoning permits permissible things
so
crushing aggregate?
we have to start back in LI1. and LI2, because those list of uses that are permitted in LI1 and LI2 were also allowed in heavy industrial zoning districts. Now the applicant in their submittal didn't, I couldn't identify in the submittal any specific quote from any of the permitted uses.
Yeah, that's my question is what use are they alleging to be similar to? And I don't think they actually address that, do they?
I couldn't see that in the letter. It would have been helpful for our attention to be specifically drawn to a specific use. No, I understand if that is the sole factual question, Mr. Chairman, I understand that their representative is present, because otherwise we'd have to go through sort of line by line and scan down the list to see if any of the permitted uses fit, and then we have to move back into HI1 zoning district and go down that list of permitted uses.
I mean, but you can weed some out, because it talks about in HI1, I didn't go back to LI1 or LI2, but it talks about uses involving the manufacture, compounding, processing, packaging, or treatment, and then it goes on to talk about adhesives, but not glue or size of manufacture. That may not apply. Brick, fire brick, and clay products, concrete products, or central mixing and proportioning plants.
It covers it in.
Yeah, it talks about, well, galvanizing or plating and hot dip. That's not really glass and glass products. Paper and paperboard from paper machine only, but not pulp mills. Sawmills, including cooperage and stock mills. Stone products, but not crushing or grinding. Structural iron and steel fabrication, wallboard and plaster, building insulation and composting, or excuse me, and composition flooring, and some other things. But the key is, and a couple phrases in that section. It's anything that involves the manufacture, compounding, processing, packaging, or treatment of those products, and anything that you determine is similar industrial uses, which are not likely to be any more offensive in noise, vibration, dust, heat, smoke, odor, glares, or other objectionable influences than those things specifically permitted. In other words, if you think it's sort of outside of those guardrails, then it goes to the Board of Adjustment. If you're okay with it, then they move on.
It does say, though, not crushing, the one sentence you just read.
It talks about concrete products or central mixing and proportioning plants, but then it says with regard to stone products, but not crushing or grinding. And that's in the HI1. Like I said, I didn't go back and look at the LI.
The most relevant is the highlighted one in LI2.
Oh, you see crushing stone. That one line there does kind of make it Board of Adjustment.
Because what it talks about in the actual, when you look at the potentially hazardous uses, which requires the Board of Adjustment, that does list the ones that have to go to the Board of Adjustment: minerals and earths, that's hard to say, minerals and earths, including sand and gravel, quarrying, extracting, grinding, crushing, and processing. So there's that one that it says is potentially hazardous.
Let's give it a board.
Can we make that motion? Okay. So how do I make a motion to send it to the Board of Adjustment?
So Mr. Robertson, correct me if I'm wrong, the determination is to whether it is similar or not similar to any permitted uses in the HI1 zoning district. If it's not similar, then it would automatically go to the Board of
I think your
Adjustment.
motion is, if your goal is to have it go to the Board of Adjustments, would be that we find that it is not similar to a permitted use.
Yeah, I would say it's not similar to a permitted use as defined in Section 115-110C of the Sussex County Zoning Code.
I'm glad I said that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I would say. That's my motion.
I second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to determine that that requested that the materials, the use requested is not similar as noted in the motion for site plan number 22-03 Steiner Road Industrial Park. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Not one of my more eloquent